Hello, this is one of those videos where I ramble about an event over some gameplay footage. Footage itself is the same run I did back on CN. I tried to do something else with guards only or snipers, but I didn't have any need to abuse the WoW trickery, so I thought this one was more interesting anyhow. I'm kind of curious about something in relation to this event. Over time I've gotten a lot of power creep and 6 stars are much stronger now than they used to be, but events stay mostly on the same difficulty. Sure, stats have risen over time, new mechanics and whatnot, but not by that much. That being said, at least for me with 4 stars, this was one of the hardest events we ever had. The enemy stats are immense, every enemy elite is extremely dangerous, from the death frogs that one-shot any ranged operator and then become a super strong elite melee enemy, to the cubs that do elemental damage. So I'm curious if this holds true for higher rarity as well, like how does the average person feel about this event? For me, it was the EX stages and the S stages were insanely hard. Even though the boss himself is a massive wimp. It's kind of weird how hard the event is, but the boss is such a joke. The boss is such a wimp that it's not only possible to kill him with 4 stars without properly doing his shield mechanic, it's fucking optimal. I can't actually charge my own dragon to knock off his shield more than once, so I have to save it for the second phase. So the entire first phase will have to be killed without ever breaking his shield. Don't even know how much damage reduction he has, but it makes no difference. Luckily he orbits twice around the map, because I need to kill all the frogs of death and cubs before I can actually start fighting him. And Utage is literally the only thing that can ever fight the frogs. Once I get to the EX stages, my only option becomes to just block them with Quora, or just eat and spam them with ranged operators. And the cub just barely dies to tentacles, for now. In EX stages, basically just have to use stuff like quartz or range damage on them, nothing else works. Though Chestnut finally found some use in this event, to prevent the flame debuff, because the cub's damage is that insane. We're just stalling the boss until Utage comes back, and then waiting until he has enough charges on his skill. One of the big problems this boss has, apart from his kind of wimpy stats, is that he has too many skills. You can see how Utage is going to live much longer than she's supposed to, simply because the boss has so many skills he needs to cast. And every time he's casting a skill he is not attacking. That doesn't seem like a big deal, but in practice it reduces his damage by quite a bit, which is what allows for Deep Cover and Utage to be enough for the boss. He casts his shield again, you can see it, and now the dragon comes again. Because he keeps cycling the skills like that constantly, even just 2 tentacles live way longer than they should. Enough to bait away the AoE attack, so Utage now has a window. If I want to be very finicky with it, it's possible for Utage to bait the AoE attack as well, but it's not necessary. We have plenty of space, because the boss whoops one more time, so we're just dropping damage to finish off the first phase at this point. He can get more annoying in other stages, where the dragon becomes more dangerous, but every normal stage has this dragon too, so that's more of an event mechanic than something the boss does. Some stages it's easier to just completely ignore the dragon, while on others you need to contest it for enemies. It's something I struggled with on some EX stages where I wasn't sure what the best approach would be. Should I just completely ignore the mechanic? Or try to fight it with cheat like Eaton S1 and click and whatnot? Because it takes 10 hits to kill these things, if there's a ton of them, it becomes very difficult to stop them. When they show up in IS6 they're not actually that big of a deal, because you can have the dot items or attack speed, but in normal play they became really annoying to deal with. So on a lot of stages I just completely ignored the dragon mechanic. Anyhow, boss phase 1 is finally done. He's actually a really squishy boss. Or maybe it's a she, I don't know. Not an expert on fantasy lizards. Without the shield, the boss would actually die to a little bit of damage plus 1 target deploy. It took more like 5, so I assume the boss has 80% damage reduction, but I've never looked up the stats. I remember what the skills do from CN, so I don't need to read them. And finally, time for the trickery. So, I said he dies to Utage plus a bit of damage. If I just hit him with the dragon and have Utage and Deep Cover DPS, that's not enough. So, what I figured was, because when I was playing this event on CN earlier, I knew that it's possible for one dragon cast to hit a target twice. If it walks out of range, then walks back in. To do this, I needed to push the boss into a location where the dragon turns a corner. There's 2 locations where this is possible. The bottom left next to the blue box, and the bottom right from the middle red box. I couldn't stall him enough to use the tile on the bottom right, so the bottom left is the only option. Now he's perfectly pushed into a corner after he turned it, and we just need to stall him a bit until the red dragon gets here. And we need to time that so it also kills all the other enemies. Once the dragon hits, the shield is removed, and Utage takes over. She wouldn't have enough damage normally, but because the dragon got to hit twice there, it's just barely enough to kill the dragon. You can see Utage's Q ended and we have to finish it off with normal attacks. There we go.